It happened in the middle of a crowded train station, people rushing, children laughing, announcements echoing. No one noticed anything unusual, except a police dog. Officer Daniel's German Shepherd, Rex, suddenly froze. His ears shot up. His eyes locked onto a little girl walking beside a woman in a blue coat. The girl didn't speak, didn't scream, didn't even look back. She simply placed her small hand on the woman's back. In a pattern, one tap, pause, two taps. A silent signal, a desperate plea only a trained protector could understand. Rex froze mid-step. His ears rose higher. His body stiffened. And then he barked, loud, deep, urgent. People turned. Officers watched. But no one understood what was happening. Why was a calm police dog suddenly reacting like this? What did he see that no one else could? Something was terribly wrong. The woman turned slowly, confused. But Rex wasn't looking at her. Within moments, he was pulling Daniel forward, refusing to obey commands, dragging him toward a secret no one else could see. What began as a routine patrol was about to uncover a chilling scheme, and a silent cry for help that only a dog could understand. Before we start, make sure to hit like, share, and subscribe. And really, I'm curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country name in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. Morning sunlight filtered through the high glass ceiling of the Central City train station, scattering soft golden patterns across the polished floor. The station was already alive, echoes of rolling suitcases, hurried footsteps, and distant announcements blended together in a familiar morning rhythm. Travelers rushed in every direction, some clutching coffee cups, others guiding sleepy children, or checking departure boards with anxious eyes. It was the kind of busy morning where no one noticed anything except their own destinations. Officer Daniel Cooper stood near the main entrance, one hand resting on the sturdy leash of his canine partner, Rex. The German Shepherd sat alert beside him, ears perked and eyes scanning the crowd with quiet intensity. Rex wasn't just any dog. He was one of the most reliable canines on the force, trained to detect danger long before humans sensed it. Daniel trusted him completely, especially on days like this. They had been patrolling the platform area for nearly an hour, weaving through commuters, pausing near luggage lines, and walking past security checkpoints. Everything seemed normal. Daniel felt that today might be just another routine shift, nothing more than guiding lost travelers, checking suspicious bags, and making sure the morning rush went smoothly. And Rex, usually calm during these morning shifts, walked confidently beside him, observing without reacting. "Busy day, huh?" a passing officer remarked as he moved through the crowd. Daniel nodded. "Yeah, standard morning chaos." But Rex was different today. Every few minutes, the dog would pause, lift his head, and inhale sharply as if trying to catch something in the air. Daniel noticed but didn't think much of it. Dogs often picked up faint scents, food, perfume, even another animal. There was nothing alarming yet. They reached the center of the station, where the crowd was thickest. A group of school kids hurried past, laughing loudly. A businessman argued on the phone. A family took pictures near the ticket counter. Just normal scenes from a typical morning. Then Rex suddenly stiffened. Daniel felt the leash tighten slightly. "Easy, boy," he murmured, glancing down. Rex stood completely still now, ears turning in one direction like highly tuned antennas. His eyes locked onto something, or someone Daniel couldn't yet see. The dog's breathing changed, slow and deep, like he was focusing on a scent that didn't belong in a normal morning crowd. Daniel followed Rex's gaze, and that was the moment everything began. Rex's tail lowered. His body leaned forward. Something in the station, someone had triggered his instincts, and Daniel had learned one thing over the years. Rex was never wrong. Daniel's eyes followed the direction of Rex's stiff posture, scanning the moving crowd until he spotted a small family walking slowly toward the escalators. At first glance, they looked completely ordinary, a woman in a bright blue coat and 3 young children trailing behind her. Dozens of families pass through the station every day, but something about this one felt different. The woman kept her head slightly down, her long hair tucked into the collar of her coat. She held a large handbag close to her chest, gripping the strap tightly as if afraid someone might take it. Her steps were steady but tense, like she was walking with a weight heavier than the bag she carried. Anyone else might have mistaken it for a tired mother managing 3 kids, but Rex didn't see it that way. Behind her walked a little boy and 2 girls, each around 5 or 6 years old. They were dressed neatly, yellow, blue, and red outfits that made them stand out in the busy station. But unlike other kids their age, they didn't talk, didn't laugh, didn't even look around. They moved quietly, almost mechanically, keeping pace with the woman without a single word. Daniel narrowed his eyes. Most children in the station were restless, pointing at trains, asking questions, tugging on their parents' hands. But these 3 walked like they had been told not to make a sound. It wasn't normal for kids this young to be so silent. Rex took a step forward, pulling slightly on the leash, nose lifting as he sniffed the air in their direction. His ears stood tall, and a low breath escaped him, almost like a warning whisper only Daniel could hear. "All right, buddy," Daniel muttered softly. "You found something." "But what?" He watched the woman closely now. Every few seconds she glanced over her shoulder, checking the people behind her. Not in a casual way, but in a worried, nervous way. Her eyes darted quickly, like she expected someone to be following her. Each time she looked back, her children looked up at her, almost as if waiting for permission to keep walking. Daniel felt a faint prick of concern. Rex wasn't reacting to luggage or scent traces of explosives or anything dangerous he normally detected. No, this was different. Rex's focus was on the people themselves. And as the family moved deeper into the station, Daniel took a step closer. The crowd around them kept moving, unaware that something unusual was unfolding quietly in the middle of an ordinary morning. But Rex knew. And Daniel had learned. Whenever a family looks normal but a K9 senses something wrong, something is definitely wrong. Daniel continued watching the family as they approached the central waiting area. The woman in the blue coat guided the children gently, her movements careful and controlled. But it was the smallest girl, the one in the green jacket, who caught Daniel's eye. She lagged a little behind the others, her tiny boots tapping softly against the floor. She looked nervous, more nervous than a child should ever look in a busy public place. Rex's body leaned forward again, pulling Daniel to the left. The dog wasn't growling, but he was alert, so alert that Daniel could feel the tension traveling through the leash like electricity. The dog's nose twitched, picking up a scent, a signal, something unseen. As the family paused near a row of benches, the little girl slowly reached out her hand. Her fingers trembled, her eyes lowered, and then she gently placed her palm flat on the back of the woman's blue coat. Not a normal touch, not an affectionate gesture, not a child clinging to a parent. It was deliberate, it was controlled, it was patterned. The little girl tapped twice, paused, then tapped once. Daniel blinked. "What was that?" he murmured under his breath. Rex reacted instantly. His ears shot straight up. His body stiffened. A low rumbling sound rose from his throat. Not aggressive, but alert, like he had just received a command only he understood. His paws dug into the ground as he tried to move forward. Daniel felt the leash tighten hard. "Easy, Rex, easy." But Rex didn't listen. His eyes were locked completely on the girl. His breathing grew deeper, more focused, more intense. A detectable shift that Daniel had only seen during high-risk operations. The woman didn't turn around. She didn't even notice the girl's hand. Or maybe she was pretending not to notice. The 2 older kids kept walking ahead, unaware of what had just happened behind them. But the girl, she looked terrified. Her tiny hand stayed pressed against the woman's coat for a long moment, her small fingers trembling. Then she slowly pulled her hand back and looked straight at Rex. Not at Daniel, not at anyone else, only the dog. Her eyes were wide and shiny, filled with a silent plea. She opened her mouth slightly as if trying to speak, but no sound came out. Her lips quivered, her chest rose and fell quickly, and then she blinked, twice. Exactly the same pattern as her hand tap. Rex barked sharply, a sudden, loud, piercing bark that echoed across the station and made several passengers jump. Daniel felt his pulse spike. Rex, what is it? What did you see? The little girl flinched at the bark but didn't run. She stood frozen, staring at the dog with an expression that was not fear, but hope. Daniel understood something in that moment. The girl wasn't signaling the woman. She wasn't signaling her siblings. She wasn't signaling a stranger. She was signaling for help. And Rex, more than anyone else, had heard her silent cry. Rex's sudden bark turned heads across the station. Conversations paused, footsteps slowed, and a wave of curiosity rippled through the crowd. But while everyone else simply stared, Daniel felt a familiar knot tighten in his stomach. Rex never barked without a reason. Never. The dog pulled hard on the leash, muscles tense, breathing sharp and alert. His eyes tracked the little girl like she was the single most important person in the room. Daniel tightened his grip, trying to keep control. Rex, heel! Daniel commanded firmly. But Rex didn't budge. He stayed locked on the girl, his tail down, body forward, ears sharply angled, his unmistakable alert stance. Daniel knew this posture too well. It wasn't aggression. It was alarm. The woman in the blue coat finally stopped and turned around, startled by the bark. Her expression flickered. First confusion, then something else. Something guarded. Something she tried to hide. The three children froze beside her. Daniel took a step closer, eyes narrowing. Something about the woman's reaction didn't fit a normal scenario. Most parents would pull their kids closer, ask the officer what was wrong, or appear concerned. But this woman didn't do any of that. Instead, she gripped her handbag tighter and shifted her body slightly, as if shielding the children behind her. Rex growled softly, not loud, not threatening, but enough to send chills through Daniel. He crouched slightly, placing a steadying hand on Rex's back. What is it, boy? What did you pick up? Rex's nose twitched again, inhaling deeply, repeatedly. He wasn't smelling a bag or an object. He was scenting the people, the girl, the two children, the woman. His gaze kept bouncing between the girl and the woman. But every time it returned to the little girl, his body stiffened more. Passengers around them began whispering. What's happening? Why is the dog acting like that? Is something wrong? Daniel kept his attention on the family. Ma'am, he called calmly, I need you to stop right there for a moment. The woman's shoulders tensed, but she didn't answer. Rex stepped forward again, pulling Daniel with surprising force. The dog was no longer just alert. He was determined, acting with a kind of urgency Daniel rarely saw outside real emergencies. The little girl looked up again. Her eyes glistened. Her lips trembled. She sucked in a shaky breath. And in that moment, Daniel realized something chilling. Rex wasn't reacting to danger behind the girl. He was reacting to danger around her. Something was wrong, something Rex understood before anyone else, and Daniel knew he couldn't ignore it. Daniel took a steady breath and began walking toward the family, keeping his voice calm and professional. The last thing he wanted was to frighten the children, but Rex's reaction left him no choice. Something was happening here, something he couldn't ignore. Ma'am, Daniel said gently as he approached, is everything all right? The woman in the blue coat tightened her grip on her handbag. Her eyes darted from Daniel to Rex, then to the little girl, who stood silently with her arms close to her body. There was a flicker of fear on the woman's face, quickly masked behind a forced smile. Yes, everything is fine, she replied, her voice slightly shaky. We're just trying to catch our train. Rex growled again, not loud but low and tense, making the children flinch. Daniel raised a hand reassuringly. Don't worry, he's trained. He won't harm you. But Rex's posture told another story. His tail lowered even further, his chest expanded with each deep breath, and his front paw lifted slightly off the floor, a sign Daniel recognized instantly. Rex sensed danger, and not the kind found in suitcases or backpacks. This was personal, human. I'm sorry, ma'am, Daniel continued, softening his tone. I just need to ask a few questions. Your child, the little one, she looked like she was trying to get someone's attention. The woman's eyes widened. What? No. She's just shy. Daniel crouched a little to the girl's level. Hi there. he said softly. Everything okay? Do you need help? Before the girl could react, the woman stepped quickly in front of her, blocking the view. She's fine, she insisted, voice firmer now. We're fine. Daniel straightened slowly, watching the woman carefully. Her body language was all wrong. Protective, yes, but not in a motherly way. It was defensive, guarded, almost like she didn't want anyone talking to the children. The older boy clutched the edge of her coat tightly, eyes avoiding Daniel's. One of the girls kept looking at Rex with a strange mix of fear and relief, as if she wanted to move closer but didn't dare. Daniel's pulse quickened. Ma'am, he said calmly, I'm going to need you to step over to the side for a moment. Just a quick check. The woman swallowed hard. Why? We didn't do anything. Rex tugged on the leash, moving closer. He sniffed the little girl again, but this time he didn't bark. He simply stood there staring into her eyes. And the girl, she blinked, twice, the same silent signal. Daniel's breath caught. The woman grabbed the girl's wrist instantly. Let's go, she muttered, trying to turn away. Rex barked, sharp and urgent. Daniel stepped forward. Ma'am, stop, now! She froze. Passengers watched quietly, sensing the tension, unsure if they were witnessing a misunderstanding or something far more serious. The little girl's eyes welled up, and Daniel realized this was no coincidence, no mistake, no normal family. This was a cry for help, a silent one only a K-9 had understood. For a moment, everything around them felt strangely quiet. The morning rush continued in the background, but Daniel heard nothing except the soft whimper of the little girl. Her small hand trembled in the woman's grip, her shoulders tight with fear. Rex stood perfectly still beside Daniel, staring at the girl with an intensity that felt almost human. Daniel lowered his voice. Ma'am, please, let go of her wrist. The woman hesitated, just for a second, but that second told Daniel everything. A real mother would release immediately. A real mother would comfort the child, but she didn't. Instead, she tightened her hold, pulling the girl slightly behind her. It's nothing, the woman insisted, forcing a smile. She's just scared of the dog. But that was a lie. Daniel saw it. Rex sensed it. And the girl, she couldn't hide it. Her eyes locked on Rex again, wide and glistening with tears. Slowly, nervously, she raised her free hand, just a few inches, and tapped her thumb against her fingers. A tiny gesture, barely noticeable. But Rex reacted instantly. His ears shot up, his head tilted. A soft, urgent whine left his throat. Daniel stepped closer. Sweetheart, do you need help? The girl's chin quivered. She didn't look at Daniel. She didn't look at the woman. She kept looking at Rex, as if the dog was her only safe place in the entire station. The woman moved suddenly, placing her body between the girl and Rex. We're leaving, she snapped, her voice breaking slightly. Now! Rex barked, loud, sharp, echoing against the walls. Passengers gasped. Daniel raised a calming hand toward the crowd, then focused on the girl again. Her tiny frame shook, and when she looked at him this time, Daniel saw something that chilled him. Raw, silent fear. Not the fear of a dog, not the fear of getting in trouble. This was the fear of someone trapped, someone desperate. Ma'am, Daniel said firmly, you need to stop right there. I'm asking you again. Release her hand. No, the woman blurted, pulling the child closer. We have a train to catch. Leave us alone. The older boy started crying quietly. One of the girls grabbed the woman's coat, trembling. None of them moved like normal children. None of them responded like kids with their mother. Rex growled again, stepping between Daniel and the family, his body low, ready, protective. Daniel's voice hardened. I'm giving you a lawful order. Let her go. For a split second, the woman froze, and in that moment, the little girl whispered, barely audible, barely formed, Please, help. Daniel's heart dropped. Rex had been right all along. Something was terribly, terribly wrong. The moment the little girl whispered those two words, the woman's composure shattered. Her face drained of color. Her breathing sharpened, and panic flickered violently in her eyes. She jerked the girl behind her, as if shielding her from the world. but her movements were frantic, not protective. "We're leaving," she snapped, her voice trembling. "Right now." She pulled the children toward the escalators, trying to force her way through the crowd. Passengers stepped aside, startled and confused. Some stared. Others whispered. But the woman didn't care about the attention anymore. She just wanted to get away. Daniel stepped forward quickly. "Ma'am, stop! You cannot leave!" She ignored him, walking faster. The little boy stumbled, nearly falling, but she dragged him along without even looking back. The youngest girl cried softly, her hand slipping from the woman's grip, but she was yanked forward again. Rex barked, loud, forceful, and urgent. The sound froze several people in place. Daniel tightened his grip on the leash. "Rex, stay!" But Rex didn't stay. He pushed ahead, pulling Daniel with surprising strength. The dog wasn't acting aggressive. He was acting protective, ready to block the family from disappearing into the crowd. The woman whirled around, eyes wild. "Get that dog away from me!" Daniel held up his badge. "Ma'am, stop! You are legally required to comply." Her voice cracked. "We didn't do anything." "That child asked for help," Daniel said steadily. "It's a misunderstanding," she shouted back, but her voice shook uncontrollably, revealing the truth she tried to hide. Rex angled his body in front of Daniel, standing between the family and the direction they were trying to escape. He lowered his head, planted his paws, and growled in a way that left no doubt. There was no way he was letting them go. Passengers began stepping back, creating a circle around the scene. The woman twisted, looking left and right, searching for an escape route. Her breaths were shallow and fast. Sweat glistened on her forehead. She tugged the boy again, but he resisted this time, tears slipping down his cheeks. "Please, don't let him take us," he whispered. Daniel's blood turned cold. "Ma'am," he said carefully, "who are you running from?" The question hit her hard. She froze in place like she had been struck, her eyes filled with fear. Not of Daniel, not of Rex, but of someone else. Someone she didn't even dare name. "We need to go," she whispered urgently, her voice cracking. "You don't understand." Rex barked again, short, sharp, decisive. He sensed the rising danger. The trembling fear around the children, the frantic heartbeat of the woman. Daniel stepped closer. "You're not going anywhere until we understand what's happening. These kids aren't safe, and Rex knows it." The woman's panic reached its peak. Her hands shook as she pressed them to her forehead. "Please," she begged, "just let us leave. He's watching us." "I can't." Her voice broke completely. The children cried. Rex growled again. And Daniel knew they had reached the turning point. This was no ordinary runaway family. This was someone running from something terrifying. The woman's panic-filled words hung in the air like smoke. Passengers stood frozen, unsure whether to move closer or step back. The children clung to each other now, their small bodies trembling, their eyes darting between Daniel, Rex, and the woman who kept insisting they leave. Daniel softened his tone, knowing he needed the children to feel safe. "Kids, it's okay. You're safe here. No one will hurt you." The oldest boy finally looked up at Daniel. His big brown eyes glistened with fear, but behind that fear was something else. Relief, as if someone had finally noticed what he'd been trying to hide. Rex stepped closer, sniffing the air again. This time he moved around the boy and the two girls, pausing beside the smallest one, the girl who had given the silent signal. He lowered his head gently, pressing his nose toward her sleeve. The girl flinched. Daniel's eyes sharpened instantly. "Sweetheart, is your arm hurt?" The woman reacted fast. "She's fine, she fell, that's all." But the girl shook her head softly. Rex growled, low, steady, a sound filled with certainty. Daniel crouched down slightly. "Can I see your arm?" he asked. The girl hesitated, then slowly extended her sleeve. As she pulled it back, Daniel's breath caught. Bruises, dark, fresh, and shaped like fingers. The passengers gasped. The boy stepped forward protectively, placing his small hand over his sister's shoulder. "It wasn't her fault," he whispered. "She didn't do anything wrong." Daniel felt anger coil in his chest. "Who did this to you?" he asked quietly. Before the girl could answer, the woman snapped, "They're my nieces. I take care of them. Kids fall all the time. The lie was too fast, too defensive, too desperate. Daniel's voice hardened. Ma'am, step away from them. Now. The woman shook her head violently. I told you, they're fine. You don't understand. If we stay here, if he finds us. She choked on her words. Rex barked sharply. The children flinched, but the little girl looked at Rex with hopeful eyes again, trusting him more than any adult in the room. Daniel spoke gently to the girl. Did you tap your hand on her coat earlier because you needed help? The girl nodded, just once but firmly. And did someone tell you how to give that signal? Daniel asked softly. She nodded again. Daniel swallowed hard. Whoever taught her that wasn't just trying to help. They knew she might need saving someday. The truth was coming out, piece by piece, and the woman's reaction confirmed it. These children weren't with their mother. They were with someone running from a nightmare. The moment the little girl nodded, confirming her silent signal, something shifted in the air. It was as if the entire station held its breath. Daniel felt it, the crowd felt it, and Rex, he felt it strongest of all. The German shepherd took one slow step forward, his paws steady, his eyes fixed on the children, his body lowered slightly, not to attack, but to protect. Every bristle of fur, every breath he took, carried one message. Stay behind me. You're safe now. The woman panicked. Don't you dare go near them, she shouted, reaching for the boy. Her voice cracked in the middle, filled with fear and frustration. But this time the boy didn't let her grab him. He stepped backward, placing himself closer to Rex. The woman froze, shocked. What are you doing? Come here, now! The boy shook his head violently. No, he cried. You said we'd be safe, but you lied. He's still looking for us. Passengers gasped, and a wave of murmurs spread through the station. Daniel took a careful step forward. Who is looking for you? He asked gently. The woman's breathing quickened. Stop talking about this here, she hissed. We don't have time. Rex growled again, stepping between Daniel and the woman, positioning himself like a living shield in front of the children. His tail was stiff, his chest expanded, and his focus absolute. He sensed danger the way only a trained canine could. And then it happened. The woman made a sudden move, an instinctive attempt to grab the smallest girl and run. But Rex was faster, much faster. He lunged not to bite, but to block, placing his body directly in front of the girl. His stance was firm, immovable, protective. The woman stumbled backward, startled by the dog's speed. Get away from her, Daniel commanded, stepping in immediately. The crowd parted as officers from nearby stations noticed the commotion and began approaching. The woman pressed her hands to her face. You don't understand, she cried. If he finds us, if he sees us, he'll take them back. Rex barked sharply, stopping her words cold. The dog wasn't looking at her anymore. He was sniffing the air, slowly, deeply, purposefully. Daniel recognized that behavior instantly. Rex wasn't just reacting to fear. He had caught a scent, a human scent, a danger scent. Rex, what do you smell? Daniel whispered. Rex snapped his head toward the far end of the station, toward the entrance near the ticket counters. He growled again, louder than before. Passengers turned their heads. Daniel felt a chill crawl down his spine. Someone had entered the station. Someone Rex recognized as a threat. Someone connected to the children. The little girl clutched Rex's fur, her eyes widening with terror. He's here, she whispered. The man who hurt us. He's here. Rex barked once, sharp, forceful, ready for action. And Daniel knew. The real danger had just stepped into the station. Daniel felt the shift immediately, the way Rex's growl deepened, the way the little girl's breath quickened, the way the woman's knees nearly buckled beneath her. Fear wasn't just on their faces now. It was in the air itself, thick and suffocating. Daniel crouched beside the children, keeping his voice calm. Sweetheart, who is here? Who are you afraid of? The girl didn't speak. She couldn't. She just looked toward the ticket counter with wide, trembling eyes. The boy swallowed hard, clutching his sister's hand. He told us not to say anything, he whispered shakily. He said if we talked, he'd take us back. Daniel gently placed a hand on the boy's shoulder. No one is taking you anywhere. Not while we're here. The woman let out a broken breath. I was trying to keep them safe, she whispered, tears spilling down her cheeks. I tried to run. I tried to hide. But he always finds us. Her voice cracked painfully. Daniel softened a little. Ma'am, who is he? She shivered, wiping at her eyes. Their father's brother. He took them after their parents died. He claimed he was their guardian, but he wasn't. He used them, hurt them. And when I found out, I took them and ran. Daniel's heart tightened. And they trusted you? Yes, she whispered. I'm their aunt. I promised I'd protect them, but… She choked on her words. He's dangerous. And if he's here… Rex interrupted with a loud, violent bark that echoed across the station. People screamed softly and backed away. Daniel straightened quickly. Everyone step back. Give us space. The woman trembled, gripping the children tighter. He must have followed us. He always does. Rex growled again, moving slightly in front of the children like a shield. His eyes were locked in one direction, near the ticket booths where a tall man in a dark jacket scanned the crowd with cold, searching eyes. Daniel saw him. The man didn't look confused or lost. He looked like a hunter trying to spot prey. Is that him? Daniel asked quietly. The woman didn't even look. She didn't dare. Her breath hitched. That's him. Suddenly, the man's gaze locked onto the children. His expression tightened, and he started walking faster. The boy whimpered. The girl hid behind Rex. The woman shook violently. Daniel placed a steady hand on Rex's collar. Easy, buddy, he whispered. Not yet. Rex's muscles coiled like a spring, his teeth bared, his body ready. The truth was out now, and the real confrontation was only seconds away. The man's footsteps were slow, but his eyes were locked, sharp, calculating, predatory. He scanned the station with the cold confidence of someone who believed no one could stop him. People moved out of his path without him saying a word. Something about him felt wrong, dangerously wrong. Rex sensed it instantly. The German shepherd's growl deepened, rumbling so low that Daniel felt it through the leash. The dog lowered his head, protecting the children behind him. His stance wasn't that of a dog preparing to attack. It was that of a defender ready to stop a threat at any cost. The youngest girl clutched Rex's fur tightly, her small fingers trembling. That's him, she whispered, barely audible. Please, don't let him take us. Daniel leaned down slightly. No one is taking you anywhere, he promised. The woman's voice shook violently. He doesn't stop, officer. No matter where we go, he finds us. He said the children belong to him, and anyone who gets in the way… She stopped, breathing shakily, unable to continue. Daniel didn't need the rest. He already understood. Rex suddenly took a step forward, muscles flexed, eyes blazing with focus. The dog wasn't just reacting to fear. He had locked onto the man's scent fully now. Every breath Rex took was sharper, faster, more controlled. He recognized this man as the source of danger. Stay behind me, Daniel instructed the family. The children huddled together, pressing close to Rex. The man stopped only a few feet away. His eyes narrowed as he looked at Daniel, then shifted to Rex, then to the children. So, the man said coldly, you finally stopped running. The woman flinched. Daniel stepped into her line of sight protectively. That's far enough, Daniel warned. The man smirked. Officer, this is a family matter. Those kids are mine. Not according to them, Daniel shot back, and not according to your behavior. The man's smirk vanished. His eyes hardened. They're coming with me. Rex barked explosively, so loud that several people screamed. The man froze mid-step. Daniel didn't even have to pull the leash. Rex was already planted like a wall between the children and the man. You take one more step, Daniel said, calm but deadly serious, and he will act. The man's jaw tightened. You don't understand who you're dealing with. Oh, I do, Daniel replied. A grown man who terrorizes children, and a dog who just confirmed it. Rex growled again, deeper than before, his tail stiff, his ears locked on the man, ready for the slightest movement. The man shifted his weight just a fraction. and Rex lunged forward with a force that made the crowd gasp. Daniel held the leash with both hands, barely keeping Rex from closing the distance. The man stumbled back, fear flashing in his eyes for the first time. Daniel leaned forward. "They're not afraid of me. They're afraid of you. That tells me everything." The man glared. "This isn't over." But Daniel kept his stance strong. "Oh, it is," he said. "Right now." Rex barked again, louder, sharper, final. The children clung to each other. The truth was fully out now, and the danger was standing right in front of them. The man's cold glare didn't leave the children. Even with officers gathering nearby, even with Daniel standing firm, even with Rex growling like a wall of fury, he still looked like someone who believed he could win. "Step back," Daniel warned again, his hand firm on Rex's collar. But the man didn't step back. He smirked again, a slow, sinister expression that made the children cling tighter to Rex's fur. "You think this is finished? Do you really think I'd come alone?" Daniel's stomach dropped. Rex stiffened. The woman gasped. "No, no, he wouldn't." But he had. The man suddenly glanced over Daniel's shoulder, toward the opposite entrance of the station. A tiny signal, a flick of the eyes, something only a trained K9 would notice instantly. Rex whipped his head toward the direction, his nose lifted. He inhaled sharply. Then his entire body tensed. A second scent, stronger, closer, approaching fast. "Daniel," the woman whispered, shaking. "He brought someone with him." Daniel turned, scanning the crowd. At first, he saw nothing unusual, just travelers, suitcases, commuters. But then, Rex barked, loud and frantic, pulling Daniel toward a cluster of people near the ticket kiosks. Rex had found the source. "Back up! Move!" Daniel shouted. The crowd parted as Rex surged forward. Daniel ran beside him, weaving through startled passengers. Every few seconds, Rex barked, head swinging left and right, tracking the scent like an arrow locked on a target. Then Daniel saw him, a second man, tall, muscular, wearing a dark hoodie with the hood low over his face. He moved quickly through the station, glancing back every few steps. He wasn't walking like a traveler. He was hunting. For the kids, Daniel realized. Rex leapt forward, dragging Daniel with him. The dog's paws hit the floor hard, nails scraping as he pushed into full pursuit mode. People gasped and jumped aside. "Stop! Police!" Daniel shouted. The man didn't stop. He ran. Rex exploded forward with a growl so fierce that even people far away turned their heads. The man sprinted toward the maintenance corridor, shoving past a group of passengers. Rex lunged. Daniel held the leash tight as the dog closed the distance. The man reached the metal gate leading to the restricted area. Just as Rex locked onto his scent completely, the dog leapt. The man swung the gate open, and Rex collided with him in mid-step. The man stumbled, slamming into the wall. Daniel reached them seconds later, grabbing the man and pinning him down. "Hands where I can see them, now!" The man struggled, growling curses. Rex stood over him, teeth bared, ready for another strike if needed. The first man, the uncle, saw his accomplice get caught and tried to bolt. But officers tackled him instantly. The children watched from a distance, gripping each other tightly. The little girl cried softly, not from fear, but from the overwhelming relief of knowing the nightmare was finally ending. Rex turned his head toward her, his tail lowered gently. He had done exactly what she silently asked. He protected them. The moment Rex brought down the second man, the entire station erupted into chaos. Officers rushed in from every direction, passengers backed away in shock, and the loudspeaker announcement echoed faintly over the noise. But in the middle of all that confusion, Daniel stayed laser-focused. "Keep your hands where I can see them," Daniel ordered, pressing the second man's wrist firmly into the floor. Rex stood over the man, growling low and steady, his protective instincts stronger than ever. Every time the suspect tried to move an inch, Rex's growl deepened, warning him that any escape attempt would not end well. Behind Daniel, two officers dragged the first man, the children's so-called uncle, toward a secure area. He struggled desperately, shouting furious threats. "You have no idea who you're dealing with. They belong to me. I'll get them back. Do you hear me?" Daniel spun around, eyes blazing. You're not going anywhere near those kids ever again." The man glared, twisting in the officer's grip. "You think this ends today?" But before he could continue, Rex barked sharply, snapping the man's attention. The bark was so powerful, so full of warning, that even hardened criminals would think twice. The man shut his mouth instantly, fear flickering across his face. Daniel tightened his hold on the second suspect. "You're both done. End of story." With backup securing both men, Daniel finally exhaled. The first real breath he'd taken since the whole situation began. The tension in the air slowly dissolved as officers handcuffed the suspects and read them their rights. The woman rushed forward, but stopped short, trembling. Is it over?" Daniel nodded. "They're both in custody. You and the kids are safe." The children clung to each other tightly. When Rex stepped toward them, they didn't flinch. Instead, the smallest girl took a tiny, brave step toward him, her eyes still watery, but full of something new. Trust. Daniel loosened his grip on the leash, and Rex gently approached the children. The dog lowered his head, sniffing them softly, almost reassuringly. The girl placed her small hand on Rex's neck and whispered, "Thank you." The boy stepped closer. "He saved us. He really saved us." Daniel watched with a tight throat. "Yeah," he said quietly. "He did." Officers led the two suspects away, their footsteps fading into the distance. The station slowly resumed its normal rhythm. But for the family and for Rex and Daniel, nothing about this morning was normal. This wasn't just an arrest, it was a rescue. A silent message answered. A life-changing moment delivered by a K-9 who understood danger before anyone else. The station had begun to settle, but the emotional storm surrounding the children was far from over. Officers guided the suspects away. The crowd dispersed, and the early morning rush slowly returned to normal. But near the benches, Daniel, Rex, the woman, and the three children remained in a quiet circle, breathing the first safe breaths they'd taken in a long time. The smallest girl, still holding Rex's fur gently, looked up at Daniel with shy, trembling eyes. "Can I ask you something?" Daniel said softly, kneeling down to her level. "Earlier, when you tapped your hand, what did that mean?" The girl hesitated. Her lips trembled before any sound came out. She glanced at her siblings, then at the woman, their aunt, who nodded encouragingly with wet eyes. "It's a signal," the girl whispered. "My teacher taught us, if we're ever in danger and we can't talk, we can use taps." Daniel felt his heart twist. "And you used it today?" She nodded slowly. "I tried not to cry. I tried to be brave. When I saw the dog, he was looking at me, so I tapped the same way." She lifted her small hand and demonstrated. 2 taps, then 1. Rex's ears perked, as if he recognized the gesture instantly. "You did the bravest thing you could," Daniel said gently, "and Rex heard you." The girl wiped a tear with the back of her hand. "I didn't think anyone would help us. But he did." She touched Rex's head softly. "He didn't leave." The boy stepped forward, voice trembling. "He always told us not to talk, not to tell anyone. If we did, he said he'd take us away forever." Daniel exchanged a heartbroken look with their aunt. She covered her mouth, tears slipping down her cheeks. "It wasn't safe to talk," Daniel said softly, "but you still asked for help. That takes more courage than most adults have." Rex nudged the girl gently, making her let out a tiny, shaky laugh. For the first time that morning, her shoulders relaxed. The aunt wiped her tears. "I tried so hard to keep them hidden," she whispered. "I knew he'd come for them. I just didn't know how to stop him." Daniel placed a reassuring hand on her arm. "You did everything you could. And now, he's never coming near them again." The girl leaned into Rex, wrapping her small arms around his neck. "You're our hero," she whispered. Rex closed his eyes and rested his head gently against her shoulder, as if he understood every word. And in that quiet, emotional moment, the truth came out fully. A silent signal had saved them. A K-9 had answered it, and a nightmare was finally ending. For the first time that morning, the children were no longer shaking. The danger was gone. The threat was in custody, and Rex, standing tall beside them, looked calmer, as if he knew his job was done. Emergency responders arrived to check the kids, gently examining their bruises, offering blankets, and speaking in the soothing voices. The children stayed close together, their eyes never drifting far from Rex. He had become their safe place. Daniel watched them with a tight chest. He had seen many cases of abuse, many rescues, many broken families trying to survive. But this one felt different. Maybe because a silent signal had changed everything. Maybe because a child trusted a dog before she trusted any adult. Or maybe because Rex had sensed something no one else could see. The aunt approached Daniel, her voice weak. I thought I could keep them hidden forever. But he always found us. I didn't know what else to do. Daniel shook his head. You did the right thing by running. You protected them the only way you knew how. She wiped her tears with a trembling hand. If your dog hadn't understood her, if he hadn't reacted, he did, Daniel said softly, looking at Rex with pride. And because of that, those kids have a future. Just then, the smallest girl walked toward Daniel. She tugged lightly on his sleeve, pointing at Rex. Can I say something to him? Daniel smiled. Of course. She knelt down beside Rex, placing both hands on his cheeks. Her voice cracked with emotion, but her words were clear. Thank you for hearing me when no one else did. Rex's tail moved slowly, then faster. He lowered his head and rested it gently against her forehead. The girl closed her eyes, letting tears fall freely, not tears of fear, but of relief. Nearby passengers, who had stayed to watch the scene, wiped their eyes. A few clapped quietly. Some whispered to each other in disbelief, amazed by what they had witnessed. One of the officers approached Daniel. We're sending the suspects to the station. Child services and investigators are on the way. We'll make sure the kids are placed safely. Daniel nodded, grateful. Good. They've been through enough. Rex sat proudly beside the children, as if guarding them until the very last moment. When the emergency workers guided the family toward the exit, the girl looked back at Rex one more time. Goodbye, hero, she whispered. Daniel placed a hand on Rex's back. You did good today, buddy. You saved them. Rex lifted his head proudly, ears perked, eyes bright. And in that moment, everyone who had witnessed the scene understood one truth. A silent signal had changed everything. And a police dog had become the hero no one expected.